Hello and welcome to this English learning lecture. Have you ever felt confused about whether you are frustrated or exhausted, or maybe even both at the same time? Today we are going to explore two very common but often misunderstood English words, frustrate and exhausted. These words are frequently used in daily conversation, emotional expression, workplace communication, and storytelling. However, many learners mix them up or do not fully understand the emotional depth and correct usage of each word. In this lecture, we will break down both words in a very clear, detailed, and practical way so that you can confidently use them in your speaking and writing. Let us begin with the word frustrate. The word frustrate is a verb. It describes a feeling or situation where someone is blocked, stopped, or prevented from achieving something they want. When you are frustrated, it means your progress is interrupted, your expectations are not met, or something is not going the way you planned. Frustration is an emotional reaction, not a physical condition. It often comes from repeated failure, delays, misunderstandings, or lack of control. For example, if you are trying to solve a difficult math problem and you cannot find the solution no matter how hard you try, you may feel frustrated. If your internet keeps disconnecting while you are working, you may feel frustrated. If someone does not understand what you are trying to explain, that can also make you frustrated. The important point is that frustrate is about mental and emotional blockage. It is not about physical tiredness. Now let us understand how frustrate is used in real English sentences. Frustrate can be used in active and passive forms. In active form, someone or something frustrates you. In passive or reflexive sense, you feel frustrated. Common patterns include situations, people, or events causing frustration. For example, slow systems frustrate users. Unclear instructions frustrate students. Long waiting times frustrate customers. Frustration is very common in modern life because people are constantly dealing with pressure, deadlines, and technology issues. Now let us look at 5 strong examples of the word frustrate. Example 1. The constant noise from the construction site frustrates me while I am trying to study. Example 2. It frustrates him when people do not follow simple instructions. Example 3. The delays in the project frustrated the entire team. Example 4. Her inability to open the locked file frustrated her deeply. Example 5. Traffic jams every morning frustrate thousands of commuters. Now let us move to the emotional understanding of frustrate. Frustration is usually a short-term emotional reaction, but if it continues for a long time, it can lead to stress, anger, or even burnout. A person who is frustrated may feel irritated, annoyed, or mentally blocked. They are not necessarily tired, but they are mentally stuck. Frustration often comes with expressions like I cannot do this, this is not working, why is this happening, or I keep trying but nothing changes. These are signals of emotional blockage. Now let us move to the second word, exhausted. The word exhausted is an adjective. It describes a state of extreme physical or mental tiredness. When someone is exhausted, they have used up all their energy. They feel drained, weak, and unable to continue without rest. Unlike frustrate, which is about emotional blockage, exhausted is about energy depletion. It is not just feeling tired. It is feeling completely drained. Exhaustion can come from physical work, mental effort, emotional stress, lack of sleep, or long periods of activity without rest. For example, after running a long marathon, a person becomes exhausted. After studying all night, a student feels exhausted. After working for many hours without a break, an employee becomes exhausted. Exhausted is often used to describe both body and mind. You can be physically exhausted after exercise or work. You can also be mentally exhausted after solving complex problems or dealing with emotional stress. Now let us understand how exhausted is used in sentences. It is usually used after verbs like be, feel, look, become, or get. For example, I am exhausted. She looks exhausted. They became exhausted after the journey. Exhaustion is a very strong level of tiredness, so it often implies the need for rest, sleep, or recovery. Now let us look at 5 examples of exhausted. Example 1. After working a 12-hour shift, the nurse was completely exhausted. Example 2. The athletes were exhausted after the intense training session. Example 3. I feel exhausted after studying for my final exams all night. Example 4. She looked exhausted after taking care of her newborn baby. Example 5. They were mentally exhausted after solving complex business problems all day. Now let us clearly compare frustrate and exhausted so that you never confuse them again. Frustrate is an action and emotional reaction. It is about feeling blocked or irritated when something does not go your way. Exhausted is a condition. It is about being extremely tired physically or mentally. A person can be frustrated without being exhausted. For example, if your phone is not working, you may feel frustrated but not tired. On the other hand, you can be exhausted without being frustrated. For example, after a long day of physical work, you may feel exhausted but not emotionally annoyed. However, in real life, both feelings can happen together. A person working long hours on a difficult task may feel both frustrated and exhausted at the same time. They are frustrated because things are not working smoothly, and they are exhausted because they have used too much energy. Now let us explore deeper usage differences. Frustrate is often connected with problems, obstacles, delays, confusion, or failure. It is linked with mental resistance. Exhausted is connected with work, travel, effort, stress, and lack of rest. It is linked with physical and mental energy loss. Frustration often leads to emotional reactions like anger, irritation, or disappointment. Exhaustion leads to weakness, sleepiness, or inability to continue. Let us now expand your understanding with more natural spoken usage. In everyday English, people often say I am so frustrated when something is not going right. They also say I am exhausted when they are very tired. For example, after a long day, someone might say I am exhausted, I just want to sleep. During a difficult situation, someone might say I am frustrated because nothing is working. Now let us look at more practical life situations where these words are used. In education, students often feel frustrated when they do not understand a topic even after trying many times. They feel exhausted during exam preparation when they study for long hours. In work life, employees feel frustrated when systems are slow, communication is unclear, or deadlines keep changing. They feel exhausted after long shifts, overtime work, or continuous pressure. In personal life, people feel frustrated when relationships are misunderstood or expectations are not met. They feel exhausted when dealing with emotional stress, family responsibilities, or lack of sleep. Now let us deepen the understanding of emotional intensity. Frustration is like pressure building inside the mind. It creates irritation and mental discomfort. Exhaustion is like energy running out. It creates emptiness and fatigue. Frustration says something is stopping me. Exhaustion says I have nothing left. Now let us add more language richness so you can use these words naturally in speech. Instead of just saying I am frustrated, you can say I am feeling really frustrated with this situation. Instead of I am exhausted, you can say I am completely exhausted and need rest. These small expansions make your English sound more natural and expressive. Now let us reinforce learning with more examples in daily context. Frustrate example set continues with deeper natural usage. Example 1. The slow response from customer service frustrates many users every day. Example 2. It frustrates me when plans change at the last minute. Example 3. Repeated errors in the report frustrated the manager. Example 4. Not being able to access important data frustrated the researcher. Example 5. Technical glitches frustrate online learners during live classes. Now exhausted example set with deeper context. Example 1. After a long journey across cities, they were completely exhausted. Example 2. He felt exhausted after dealing with emotional stress all week. Example 3. The firefighters were exhausted after controlling the large fire. Example 4. She was mentally exhausted after making difficult decisions. Example 5. The workers were exhausted after finishing the project ahead of deadline. Now let us bring everything together in a final understanding. Frustrate is about emotional blockage and irritation caused by obstacles. Exhausted is about complete physical or mental tiredness caused by effort or stress. Frustration pushes your emotions upward into irritation. Exhaustion pulls your energy downward into fatigue. Understanding the difference between these two words helps you express your feelings more accurately in English. It also helps you understand others better when they describe their emotional or physical state. In real communication, using the right word makes your speech clearer, more natural, and more powerful. Now before we close this lecture, let us reflect again on the main idea. Have you ever experienced a moment where you were both frustrated because nothing was working and exhausted because you had no energy left to continue? If yes, then you now understand exactly how powerful and different these two words are. To summarize, frustrate means to feel blocked or annoyed due to obstacles. Exhausted means to feel completely drained of energy. With practice, you will start noticing these words in movies, conversations, books, and real-life situations. And soon, you will be able to use them confidently and naturally. Thank you for listening to this lecture.